Guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex. And so I rushed through, sort of, the event quest. I refreshed my energy a few times to crank out these 300 dimension mission stages so that we could unlock the tier 4 selector a little bit early. I would have naturally done it in about 5 or 6 days just by doing 10 to 20 dimension runs a day. So don't worry, don't panic if you're still not there yet. You still have 10 days left in the event. But I just wanted to rush through for you guys so that you can see the selector being chosen. You can see what this whole experience looks like because, you know, as much as the event is fine and everything, it is a bit stressful. I understand that they want you to play the game. I get that. And it's not just like, hey, log in and we'll give you the tier 4 selector like for the anniversary. For Black Friday, they make you work for it a little bit harder. But I know it can be stressful. So I did wanted to show this to you guys. I will be spending, by the way, the remainder of my points on the Godstone first and then the 300 Power of Demiurge. That is what I recommend that you do as well. But if you don't want to do that, then the 100 energy is also quite nice because you get almost 600 energy for the same price as one of these two items. Now, the tier 4 selector is going to go into your inbox. It's going to have a 59-day expiry, which is a long time, which is nice. I think that's actually very nice. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting a 6-day timer. And then when you click acquire, it's going to show you all of the characters that are available. Honestly, I wish there were more characters available. That's really my only critique of this. It is still really nice, and this is still the first year of the tier 4 selector. But considering the fact that we're getting, you know, 25 to 30 tier 4s a year, I think it's probably more than that. These lists do become stale pretty quick. So hopefully the 11-year anniversary does expand this list a little bit. Mainly, actually, you know what? It's not even how many tier 4s we're getting. It's just how few tier 4s are on this list, right? It's only, what, 14? There's only 14 characters. It's just a very, very short list. And multiple of these characters have been meta for a very long time. You know, Hulk has been meta for a very long time. So has Thor. So has Venom. Essentially, so has Storm if you bought her seasonal. So, yeah, it is a bit tough. But just so that you guys know here, if you choose a character that you already have, I think it's going to... I hope it prompts me. Yeah, okay. Oof. Almost wasted the tier 4 select here. So if you choose a character that you already have, this is the refund that you're going to get. Obviously, the bios you choose is relative to the character, but you get 640 bios of that character. You get 640 Life Seed. You get 480 Carbonadium, and then you get 900 Soul of the Faltine. 900 Soul of the Faltine is honestly not bad. It's more than 4 days worth. It's like 5 days worth of Soul of the Faltine, maybe more. And then the Carbo is okay. It's about 2 to 3 days worth, depending on what World Boss Legend you play. But for me, I think I'm farming at least 200 and change. I think 250. I think I'm farming about 60 Carbonadium a day with the buff. So yeah, that's like less than 2 days worth. So it's not very good, to be honest. I wouldn't do that. I would choose a character unless you only have one character left. And I would still say you should choose just one character. But I think if you only have Ant-Man or if you only have Shadow Shell, like, I don't know. If I only had Shadow Shell to choose here, I only have 2 characters that I can choose from, Sharon or Shadow Shell. If I only had Shadow Shell, would I choose the reward over her? No, I probably still would. Yeah, I think I would still just choose Shadow Shell. Just get the tier 4 out of the way. It saves you the 10 books. It's a much larger refund, so I think you should always choose a character. But I'm going to be choosing Sharon Rogers here. Not going to be choosing Shadow Shell. I'll have to choose Shadow Shell for the anniversary next year if they do give another tier 4 selector and if they don't expand the list. But it's also possible that even if they do expand the list, that I'm going to have all of those tier 4s. Or maybe not. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But there we go. We have Sharon Rogers. I almost thought about tier 4ing her myself a few months back. And then I was seriously considering tier 4ing her because they actually made a new ABX Stage. They actually listened to our feedback. There's all these rewards. Because I set up this video. Look at that. 17 rewards from Dimension Mission. So dumb. So dumb, dude. 19,500 support tokens. Anyways, they listened to our video where we talked about the teams for Alliance Battle and the stages that were missing. And so there's a stage now specifically for Blast Female Hero, I believe. There's Blast Male. There's Blast Villain. There we go. Blast Human, not female. Blast Human Oh, no, it is Blaspheming Female, my bad. It's just not hero, so they could be villains as well. I guess Moonstone is the one that a lot of people are thinking will eventually dominate this game mode. Moonstone was good once upon a time for ABX, does have a lot of hits in her kit, but for the time being, the two quote-unquote reigning champions, if you want to call them that, the two best options are either Invisible Woman or Sharon Rogers. And I believe Invisible Woman is straight up a little bit better than Sharon, also a lot easier to play. But for the PvP community, it is a bit of a pain because Invisible Woman is a very useful support. And so having her with a PvP build helps out tremendously there. But then if you have her with a PvP build, she's going to really suck in ABX. Now, it's only one day out of 30, so I certainly wouldn't recommend tier 4ing these characters for that one day. But if you have no other choice, if you have no other value to extract from these selectors, I mean, you might as well, right? Shadow Shell was literally going to do nothing for my account, whereas Invisible or Sharon Rogers at least would give me the opportunity to use Invisible Woman for PvP. And then I believe the rest of the setup is something like this. Yeah, I believe it's something like this. Ancient One for the ignore dodge, and then Ironheart lead for the buffs there. And then, of course, you either go with Sharon Rogers, or if you go for Invisible Woman, I think you cycle out Ancient One for Valeria, particularly if you have Valeria's... Camera's blocking it. Particularly if you have Valeria's artifact. That's going to give a lot of buffs. Damage to boss types, basic attack, and damage to supervillains. Valeria has a very potent support buff, but you have to have the artifact to get that. Her leadership is not bad either, because it's 55% attack to Fantastic Four. Her leadership is no joke. Like, if leaderships worked in Otherworld Battle, that's a very potent lead for the Fantastic Four. But also, don't even get me started on the Fantastic Four in Otherworld Battle. They're so bad. Anyways, Sharon herself, for me, doesn't have a build right now, so I gotta go and find her and give her a CTP, but we are gonna give her a Rage. I'm gonna give her a Rage. I'm gonna give her a Mighty Rage here. We got a one... Do we have a 200 proc? No, we got a 180 proc. Sure. All right, whatever. We got a 180 proc here. We're gonna slap on a Mighty Rage to see what she can do in ABX and a little bit of World Boss Legend Plus. Now, I couldn't find a rotation specifically for Sharon Rogers ABX, but I think I'm just gonna cancel everything into 4 and then just go ahead with the next rotation, just so that we can build up the tier 4 buff and the tier 3 as well to pop that off every single rotation. But I'm not gonna worry too much about getting accumulation and all that, because yeah, it's just gonna be too much of a headache. Too inconsistent with the runs. You're still gonna get a lot of downtime in between rotations, as you can see, because she gets through her rotations pretty snappy. It is gonna be a bit of an issue lining up the enrage procs for sure, but otherwise you do want to maximize the number of hits, because as we know, ABX is all about the hit counters. So there, I guess I could have gone for the enrage proc. Could have waited for one more skill to pop up. Here I'll wait as well. But the other issue with ABX specifically for Sharon is she doesn't have cancel. So, but the good thing is with the new ABX, you can now switch right away. So I did want to showcase that for you guys. Just like ABL, they've changed this since the last update in ABX, where as soon as you cancel with a character, you can it refreshes the switch cooldown on your other character, so you can switch back. It's clunky for sure. It's not the optimal way to play these characters necessarily, especially if you're going for high scores. But realistically, I don't think you should be tier 4ing Sharon Rogers right now, expecting to get a high score in one day of ABX a month. Like, this is not meant. This video and this showcase and stuff is not meant for that. By the way, for those of you wondering, like, who would you tier 4 right now if there's just one day of ABX, if you're in that situation? And my advice to you is to just wait. My advice is to just wait, because... Is this going to be faster? Okay, sweet. That's way faster. She does strike for me, so that's kind of shitty. I lose a bunch of time there. But, yeah, my advice to you is to just wait. If there's a character that you think you need for ABX ABL, especially if it's just one day of ABX. If it's ABL, it's a little bit different. The rewards are a little bit spicier, a little bit better. But for just one day of ABX, am I going to tier 4 a character? Probably not. Probably not. It's a little bit too much, expense and not a lot of return on your investment for one day a month. Because remember, a month later, you could literally have a better meta coming out. Like, it's genuinely a possibility. Now, with how many days there are, you could be looking at a new meta for that day within a month. So you got to be really, really careful with You got to be really, really careful. Sharon just strikes always for me, dude. I would just turn off the support striker thing. Absolutely. Just turn off the support striker thing like you do for Loki in ABL, because that is super duper annoying. I'm probably missing at least 2 rotations over not being able to strike or to switch back in time, which is super awful. Now, this is a pretty shit score, I'm not going to lie. You can probably get a better score if you just play better. Also, being able to cancel with Sharon and not having to switch is a big timer. I should have probably gotten 13. But then if you use Ghost Rider Striker and you pump that up, you should be getting like 14, maybe 14 and a half. I don't know, maybe a little bit more. But the issue is mainly like the supports are just not that great for Sharon, to be honest. For that day of Blast Male or Blast Female, excuse me, and they certainly greatly favor right now, as we outlined earlier, Invisible Woman. The problem with Invisible Woman, as we outlined, is PvP players. But if you're not a PvP player, that's not an issue for you. Just go ahead and use Invisible Woman for this with a Rage. She is certainly easier to play, and she's going to give you a higher score with a similar build. Shifting over to World Boss Legend Plus, which I was never able to test her on before because she was in Tier 4. This is stage 65 of Ebony, which I think is too high for her, mainly because she doesn't have a support. Now, I used Storm to do this, and I would highly recommend Storm, but the issue as well is that Storm provides a self buff, right, with all that extra elemental damage, and Ancient One provides an extra buff to, to Storm with the extra elemental damage. Sharon gets none of that, which is weird because, of course, having the seasonal cold uniform with all these ice-related attacks, you'd think maybe she's elemental damage, and no, she doesn't. And yeah, as much as a Rage is helpful in a lot of situations, this is just terrible. There's no way she can clear this. What about Thanos stage 29? Because here for Blast Heroes, we can use Cyclops support, which does apply to Sharon. Now, I'm still pretty skeptical, but this is looking more promising, although Iron Man Tier 4 with the nil armor can also clear this stage, so I'm not, even if she can clear it, I'm not going to be super blown away by Sharon. But I mean, to be fair to her, she doesn't have a team-up collection, and this is the first time I'm playing her in almost a year, and she was generally billed as a proc-friendly kind of hero for a very long time, so swapping her over to a Rage is, in some ways, kind of antithetical to the character. But then again, if the game modes have left her behind because they require competition or Rage to ignore all of the boss's insane defensive numbers, then is that really my fault as the player for gravitating to that when that's what the devs are basically telling you need to do if you want to be successful? I don't know. It's kind of an interesting question. But she's doing pretty good right now. We are in the next phase after just about a minute. This might actually be an easier clear for me than with Iron Man. However, in Iron Man's defense, I don't use a Cyclops lead or Cyclops support at all, because I use him on a much higher stage with Storm. So, yeah, I guess in that case, Sharon has an unfair advantage. Yeah, it's also just unfair because I want to use her V-pad to squeeze in extra damage, and I kind of can't because it's just such a slow wind-up. That was, like, okay. But then we kind of screwed this next one up because we don't have the Tier 4 up. That's okay. That's okay. The good thing is Thanos does a lot of damage, so on the non-tier 3, yeah, look at that. On the non-tier 3 rotations, you do get a bunch of accumulation, which just gives you a lot of free damage. Now, if we can do enough damage here without dying, we will push him to the next phase where I'm dying. He should have summoned Thanos. I didn't die, though. You know why? Because Sharon's kind of tanky. She's a tanky girl. That was kind of impressive, I gotta say. I think Iron Man would have died there. There's a bit of a, Avengers Doomsday. I was trying to make a joke. I'm not funny anymore, guys. It's over. Because Iron Man dies, guys. Iron Man's dead. Oh, no. Okay. Okay, we're doing pretty well here. This is also going to be easier because of the changes they made to the Thanos, the King Thanos version of portion of the fight, where he now has the tags. So he's gonna dash. So I was trying to time the tier 3 after he dashes, because otherwise I would have lost a bunch of damage, because if you guys don't play Sharon, didn't press her third skill at all there. Wow. Good job, Alex. She doesn't have very good AoE. That's one big downside of the big Sharon Rogers. My screw up there with not having the... with not having pressed the third skill is that I didn't have the tier 3 up for that rotation. So we should have finished this last rotation. Yeah, but that was okay. That was okay. Is it a kind of useless tier 4 for me, if you're wondering? Absolutely. Yeah. But again, it's better than not having a tier 4. Again, I think it's better than getting whatever 500 Carbo and 900 Soul of the Faltine. I think if it was half, I think if it was around 2,500 Carbo and around 2,000 Soul of the Faltine, then I probably would have taken the refund. Just so that you guys know what I think would be like a fair not fair, but a refund that would entice me not to choose the character. But otherwise, my advice to you is always, always, always choose the character. Even if it's a character like Sharon and you're free to play, I would say always choose the character, because you never know. The character could become good later, and for sure, you're going to need the character at tier 4 for whatever comes next. We know that whatever comes next so far has been the elite gear, which is not very sexy, not very fun, and not very good for some characters. For example, Sharon Rogers, her elite gear is terrible. The Chthon scroll is just really bad. And unless you're doing a very, very specific build, like sure, getting an extra 15% boss damage is not bad, but you're talking like some of these buffs are worse than uniform buffs. And for the amount of investment you have to make to get there, that's brutal, right? So we'll see something after elite gear. Will you have to tier 4 the character and get the elite gear in order to tier 5 them, whatever that could be? It might not be called tier 5. I don't know. In that case, at that point, you would have to then judge, okay, I got the free tier 4 selector. I chose Ant-Man. He's shitty. I'm never building him, hypothetically. But, you know, I really want a tier 5 Ant-Man now. Is it worth it to then build up his elite gear? At that point, you'd have to make that judgment for yourself. Hopefully that won't be the case. Hopefully you won't have to do their elite gear in order to tier 5 them. But we'll have to wait and see what that ends up looking like. But for the meantime, it's one extra tier 4. It's kind of cute. It's whatever. And I don't know, maybe they'll turn her into a PvP character, and I'll be able to make more content on her. But the build is pretty pedestrian otherwise. It was a 4-star artifact, 180 Mighty Rage, Power Event, or Overdrive here, and then, you know, 4 Odin's Blessing. It wasn't anything crazy. I'm like, Wreck 2000. Honestly, the most value that the tier 4 selector gave me was extra hero badge. Was pushing my hero badge up to almost level 300. You can see it's 299 there. That's the biggest value that Sharon gave me, because then it's almost an extra bonus on my agent level to bump up my all defense from 24.38 to 24.41. Huge gains, guys. 0.03. Insane, massive gains. So thank you, Sharon Rogers, for that. Anyways, that's the tier 4 selector, guys. Good luck out there. Snag yours before the event is over. Thank you so much for watching the video. Smash that button if you enjoy the content, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.